Okay. Welcome everyone to this first webinar from the Cash and Wash Technical Working Group on what does cash mean for wash outcome. We will repeat this first webinar in different time zone and in different languages, so we will be able to reach the maximum of national society globally. Cash for Wash is an area of growing interest and importance in the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. And in this webinar, we aim to introduce the topic of using cash and markets to give people choice and dignity in how they meet their wash needs and how we can better support wash markets. In 2020, a new technical working group was established to progress considering the use of cash voucher assistance for wash. And this webinar, we will introduce this technical working group, and you will have as well opportunity to ask questions. And next slide, thanks. First of all, housekeeping. Before proceedings, let's have a quick look. Housekeeping rules. Please keep all the time your mic muted unless you're invited to ask a question. You can use the chat box to ask your question, and we will try to do our best to answer during the webinar. And if this is not possible, we will answer in the frequently asked question on the technical working group website, and you will be given a link to reach the website and submit your question. During this webinar, we will run some poll. The question will appear on your screen, and you will have 1 minute to answer. In case you are several people in front of one screen, one person can take the lead and to answer the poll. Next slide, please. Okay, we will start with the first poll. We would like to know more about you, and let's practice the first poll together. You will have 4 different options. One is you are a wash practitioner. The second one is you are a cash practitioner, or you could be both cash and wash practitioner, or you are from another sector. You have 1 minute to vote, and after you have voted, please write your name, position, and organization in the chat box. Thank you.
Great, and can you see the poll results?
Yes, okay. 26 participants out of 42 are wash practitioner. Okay, we have 1 participant that is pure cash practitioner, and 3 out of 42 are both cash and wash, and 4 participants from another sector, and 2 out of 42 none of the above. Okay, I think we can go with the next slide and the presentation of the agenda. Thank you. So I will briefly present the agenda. We have already started the introduction, housekeeping rules, and introduction of the participants, and soon we will also introduce the speaker for today's session. The first part of the agenda will be of the webinar will be a presentation of the paper on what does cash mean for wash outcome, and there will be a session for question and answer. Then the next session, there will be a brief introduction of the cash and wash technical working group, and with also as well a session of questions that we would like to address to the technical working group and answer. And before we conclude the webinar, we will have a discussion about the next step and how you can contribute to the technical working group. Before we start the first session, let's present now the speaker for today's webinar. I'm Deborah Bonucci, I'm the WASH advisor for British Red Cross, and we go for the next presenter.
Hello, my name is Alexander Oese from the Austrian Red Cross. I'm a headquarter-based WASH advisor, and I'm also a member of this technical working group for cash and wash in the Red Cross. Thanks.
Yeah, hello, this is Amarmani Paudel from the Nepal Red Cross Society. I'm the Deputy Director and National Headquarters in Water and Sanitation Hygiene Division. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Amar, and back to you, Deborah.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I pass now the next session to Alex on what does cash mean for wash outcome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Deborah. So, do you recognize this page? you might have seen it before. It's the front page of our "What Does Cash Mean for Wash Outcomes" document. And this document is intended for both wash and cash practitioners, as well as for program managers who would like to understand and explore how cash and wash voucher assistance can support wash outcomes. So this document, the final version of this document has 11 pages, and it's organized to answer 8 different questions. And you can see those 8 different questions on the screen. In the end of the document, you will also find a reference to different websites where you can have access to resources, a list of online trainings that are available for free, and also some reference documents that are produced by different organizations. And the way how this PDF works is that for each of the questions, you can click on the photo, and the link will directly take you to the section where you will find the answer to this particular question. And then you can come back to this main site to look for another question, or you can click in a normal PDF just one page by the other in sequence. So what I'm going to do now is I will just pick 2 or 3 questions and give you the answers that can be found in the document. I will not go through all of the questions for the sake of time, but what I will do is I will let you choose which questions we shall talk about right now. So I will start with the very first question: what does cash mean? And after that, there will be another poll where you can simply choose which of the next ones you would like to hear, and then according to the ranking, we will choose another one and maybe another 2 depending on how long it will take us. So let's start with the first question: what does cash mean? Cash is basically a slang expression for what we actually call cash and voucher assistance, or CVA. And this is the provision of cash and vouchers to individuals, households, or communities to enable them to access the goods and services that they need. It means giving crisis-affected people money rather than things, so that they can make choices about managing their immediate needs and longer-term recovery. What it does not include financial assistance given to local authorities or other providers of public or private wash services. So the proper term that we are actually using is cash and voucher assistance, but once in a while you might come across other terminology like cash-based interventions or cash-based assistance or cash transfer programming. It all basically means the same thing, but the currently agreed terminology is cash and voucher assistance, or CVA. All right, so that would be the answer for question number 1. And before we go to the next question, there is the next poll. Poll, and next slide, please.
We've got a slight preference at the moment for what about market-based programming. There's also a slight preference for how humanitarian actors are using cash and voucher assistance for wash outcomes. And then finally, why should we consider CVA for water, sanitation and hygiene is coming up quite strong as well. Okay, so the poll is just closing at the moment. And as soon as the platform finishes compiling those results, I'll share them on the screen. Great, so you should be able to see the poll results now on your screen, Alex.
Yes, I can see them. So the 2 top ranking would be: why should we consider CVA, and how humanitarian actors are using CVA for wash outcomes, right? Okay, I will start with question: why should we consider CVA for water, sanitation and hygiene? Yeah, as with any other wash intervention, it is critical to start any response with a good analysis to understand what is going on. And we need, as part of our intervention analysis, we need to understand also the markets for goods and services, and to assess the appropriate areas for intervention. When we analyze the wash sector and we assess the feasibility for CVA, we need to consider the quality of the wash services, the sustainability of the support, and the possible negative impacts of our intervention. It is important to remember that CVA alone cannot fix issues of lack of access to wash if the other barriers are not addressed. But each wash intervention needs to consider the impact on local markets, taking a do no harm approach. There are very few responses where markets are not impacted, and this does not really matter whether you use CVA or any kind of in-kind approaches, so that whatever we do, it will impact the market. So it's critical to understand what is going on there. Also, CVA is recognized as a great opportunity to create a transformational change in the humanitarian aid system by helping and enabling people to overcome crisis with dignity, exercise choice, and improve the sustainability of our interventions. So CVA has the potential to provide more timely, more efficient, effective, flexible, and appropriate form of response, if the conditions are right, of course. And in most contexts, aid recipients indicate a preference for cash to other forms of assistance if you ask them. So the advantages of using CVA for WASH is that you would save time, which instead of save time spent on procurement of big quantities of supplies. It can reduce the requirements to manage logistics and warehousing. It can enable shifting the focus from sourcing and distribution of materials to technical support and good programming. It also boosts the local economy. By using CVA and other elements of market-based programming, we can support and strengthen the local market and support economic recovery that goes beyond purely WASH outcomes. But of course, there are also disadvantages. The prices of the materials and the services might be higher in the retail market as compared to the prices offered by the bulk suppliers when you purchase centrally. There's an extra effort needed to monitor the quality of materials because quality control is not as easy as if we would procure and then distribute. For WASH practitioners which are unfamiliar with cash, also you might need special, or most likely you will need some CVA specialists to support you in setting up an effective CVA program for WASH. Okay, that was the second question, and the last question I'm covering now is how humanitarian actors are using CVA for WASH outcomes. Yeah, the explicit use of CVA for WASH outcomes is relatively new, although people always have used cash for buying water and wastewater services and hygiene products or constructing latrines or whatever. So an example of using CVA could be also to support people pay utility costs or purchase hygiene items. And there is plenty of experiences already from the Red Cross, like the Lebanese Red Cross is distributing e-vouchers instead of in-kind hygiene items. Another example would also, of course, be latrine construction programs in recovery programs. And we got plenty of Red Cross experience in this one, for instance, in Nepal, Myanmar, or Bangladesh. Another possible way of using CVA or market-based approaches would be cash for work. And that's also widely used. Cash for work is mainly used to inject cash into a local economy by employing a certain number of people at a lower than market rate. But the secondary objective of those cash for work programs, of course, would be WASH related. So digging of latrine pits or digging of drainage canals, environmental cleanups, and so on. Many organizations are currently working intensively on filling the evidence gap and developing guidelines to define opportunities and limits for using CVA in WASH, as well as how to best use CVA for WASH outcomes. There's a lot of things going on inside the global WASH cluster. So the global WASH cluster documents are all linked in the last pages of our document. So you will find links to those experiences there. And also our technical working group is also involved in improving our own understanding of what we are already doing. So we have some people who are doing mapping and documenting those Red Cross movement cash and wash experiences. All right. Thank you very much. It was just a teaser, so we had 2 or 3 questions covered, but of course there are more questions. So first of all, if you are interested in getting more details about the questions that I just gave you, please go and check the document. And if you're interested in the other questions, also please go and see the document itself. It's very concise and should give you a relative simple answer. If you have now, more questions to what I was saying, maybe I was not clear with everything, I'm happy to answer the question. If you
so what we would like to do is we'd like to encourage everybody who has a question, if you wouldn't mind posting it either in the Q&A box, and I can see that Zulfika has very kindly opened that Q&A box for us. So if you have any questions, you can post it in the Q&A box, or if you can't find the Q&A tab, you're very welcome to just post it in the chat. While we're waiting for some of those questions to come in, because at the moment, Alex, I can't see any questions. So please, if you are posting questions, please try and make sure you post them to everyone, so everyone can see your questions, because I can see a number of you have introduced yourself, but you've only introduced yourselves privately to the hosts and the presenters. So please try and use the to everyone button if you can, so everyone can see the questions. Just while we're waiting, then, Alex, just to try and make some of those things a little bit more concrete, maybe we could give an example of, as you did mention there, the Lebanese representative who's been doing e-vouchers with the hygiene kits. So to make that more concrete, and my understanding of that was they used the Red Rose system with their vendors. So they found specific vendors, and that they then they restricted the items that could be used to redeem those vouchers related to hygiene items. And I know that there's often a discussion around WASH practitioners trying to use cash and voucher assistance around when they use vouchers, which restrict what people buy, and when they use cash. And so some of that discussion happens to do with the needs assessment. So if the needs assessment is showing that the priorities related to WASH and hygiene are coming up quite high, it gives you more confidence that you could use something which is unrestricted and also unconditional, such as unconditional cash. However, if you're finding that actually preferences might be quite low, or you're trying to meet a specific objective around WASH and you need to have certainty or more confidence in your program that it will be met, practitioners often then choose more restricted modalities such as vouchers, or they introduce an element of conditionality. So for instance, on latrine superstructure, it might be you construct, if you dig the pit, we'll then give you the next 50% to do the superstructure, and once the superstructure is up, so the condition is the superstructure must be up, we'll then give you the final 20% to then go and do another activity, which could be, which then incentivizes to complete what the objective was of your original cash and voucher response. So the waffle was just to fill the space on questions, but we got some questions.
Good. It's good. It's one of the questions from the list of 8 questions. So what you just described is the content of the section about cash and vouchers. So what would be a reason for using this one or the other, and what kind of modalities are there, like restriction or conditionalities? So you basically covered another one. Thank you very much.
Okay. One of the...
Ludovic was mentioning that maybe some people don't know the red rose system. So probably a lot of people don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you can give just a very quick...
Yeah, so Red Rose is it's a system which allows you to do all of your data management. So doing everything that can go from your assessment phase, your bits around your cash feasibility study to but really it allows you to manage all your data. So if you're registering a whole number of potential recipients of cash and voucher assistance, so if you've decided how your targeting is working and then people are registering, and sometimes that could be self-registration, sometimes it could be your volunteers, your Red Cross, Red Crescent Society volunteers are going out with tablets, and it will look very similar to Kobo because it's quite integrated with ODK and Kobo. They'll then be filling out forms on their tablets or mobile phones, and all of that data will be coming into the system. And then from that stage, you can then you can integrate everything else that you're trying to do. So you can then try and use depending on what transfer mechanism you selected, you can then highlight when you've done transfers. You can then do your post-distribution monitoring. So it's really a data management system, and it also allows you to do things like e-vouchers. Yeah, that's the... Okay. So a couple of people have said in the chat that they're not able to post to everyone, so it's just going to all presenters host or presenter or individual presenters. So I'm going through all of the questions at the moment. I can't see any specific questions, so I don't know whether any of the other panelists have received questions specifically.
I have not.
No. Okay.
Yeah, there is one question actually.
Yeah, go on, Amar, I can see it. Yeah, so Susan Peters has asked, how do you address competition for materials with other organisations who rushed to the area after disaster? All organisations supporting WASH will need similar materials. So I guess that's a more of an in-kind question. Why don't I take that question and make it more a cash question? So an example would be, you're trying to respond with cash and voucher assistance, and you're trying to use a financial service provider. You're trying to look for a financial service provider so you can make transfers. So for instance, that could be mobile money, perhaps or that could be remittance companies where people, where you hire a remittance company where they then send their agents out into the field to then deliver that cash. But the problem that happens post-disaster is that we find that many agencies are trying to use these financial service providers and are trying to so there's a lot of competition perhaps for financial service providers. They might be a bit overwhelmed in receiving tenders. They might be overwhelmed in delivering cash assistance. So there, the ideal is to have those things pre-agreed. So to try and in your preparedness activities, to try and ensure you already have a financial service provider contracted. It can take 3 or 4 months, and that's just not ideal in an emergency. And we would say work with your cash and market colleagues, work with finance, work with procurement and logistics, so that you can ensure that you're all aware of what the requirements are that you want from that financial service provider, and that you do that within the preparedness phase. Okay, so I think we haven't got any other questions right at the moment. So let's see if I wonder if we move on and then we take more questions at the end. So we're going to now pass over to Amar. Amar, do you want to just introduce yourself again? And then
yes,
when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm Amarmani Paurel from the Nepal Red Cross Society, and I was the Crescent was technical working group member as well. Actually, the earlier presenter already discussed about the WAS outcomes. Now we want to discuss about the Crescent WAS technical working group. Crescent WAS technical working group prepare a not sale where you can find the technical working group related different informations. Actually, we established the technical working group 6 months earlier. And during this 6 months, we developed the term of reference of the technical working group and some important document we produce. And we want to share you those documents and want to discuss here you. The first things in the not sale, we can see where is there a WAS and CAS technical working group. It's a very important questions and then very important area, because when the conditions are right, receiving cash gives people more choice to direct their own recovery and prioritize their needs. Yes, and the purpose of this technical working group is to explore the cash and voucher assistance and more broadly market-based programming. We can be the best use in the RCRC movement and then WAS outcomes. This is the very important area way so that we establish the Crescent working group. And then who can join this technical working group? Is a simple things. It's a Red Cross and Red Crescent movement technical working group. Any member from the RCRC movement can join, such as ICRC people also can join, IFRC people can join, and the National Society can join. But we have to think about the regional balance as well. So that we have to think. And then also individual can join so that he or she can share their experience and interest related to cash and voucher assistance and market-based programming. And also the specializations, WAS related specialization things also can share in this technical working group. And then who can join, those people can also chair. That opportunity will also give through the technical working group. And then if you can join, you can join, please send the message to the contact persons, and also you can fill the forms. And then second things about the technical working group is, what is the aim of the CAS and WAS technical working group? Actually, the main aim of this technical working group we established to strengthen the WAS practitioners' understanding of and engagement with CVA and market-based programming approach when designing and implementing the WAS intervention to the technical working group. And then we have the three work streams. The first work streams is we can share knowledge and gathering the material related to CAS and WAS. This is one first aim. The second aim is we also can share the guidelines and training programs and WAS and CVA. And the third aim is implement and then make the partnership from the partner national society and also the host national society. This is our aim. And how does the CAS and WAS technical working group work? Actually, we have the different modality to work. The general modality at this moment, we are sitting together at a monthly basis as a plenary meeting where we discuss different type of activity or work or our target as a phase wise. And then we have also sub-technical work group within the technical working group. They also sit their own preferences times. And until now, we have the 4 years plan. The first 6 months, that is started from October 2020 to March 2021. During this period, we already established, already prepared the introduction paper of the technical working groups, CAS and WAS. And then we also trying to mapping our Red Cross and Red Crescent experiences. This we are already done. And then some webinar we launching. And then this is the first phase, and second phase is 8-month phase. In the second phase, it is start from April 2021 to December 2021. In this period, we will work on the roadmap of WAS and CVA technical working group, and we want to further outreach during this phase. And the last phase is from November 2021 to October 2024, is a 3 years long phase. During this phase, we want to implement the roadmap, and we want to monitor our implementation in the systematic way. These are our like a 4 years plan. Along this, we have also the inclusive outreach things we have planned. That means we want to translate our information, which information we produce through the technical working group into the different languages, the IFRC official languages, and also the want to dissemination that product into the different event through the online webinar, and then through the homepage of website. These are the our like a technical working group working style, and then we decided this. And now it's a questions time. Until now, we discussed about the technical working group North Cell. If you have a question related to the technical working group, you can ask through the chat or raising the hand as well. I just wait your questions. Yes, please.
Great. So Mark, just looking to see what questions have come in recently. So hold on. Okay, so at the moment can't see any questions in the chat unless any of the.
There is a question from Zulfikar, and how we can join the technical working group.
Yeah, so maybe I can take that one, because that would be a negotiation, Zulfikar, with both your cash focal point within Pakistan Red Crescent, and also with your WASH focal point, Zulfikar. So you'd have to speak with both of those and gain agreement. And also, Zulfikar, it'd be great if I don't know how much WASH programming you've been working on, Zulfikar. So we would probably want to hear a little bit about that. So not to put you off, and it would be great to have wider representation, but we would want to get agreement from the cash focal point and the WASH focal point within your national society. I think that would be the most appropriate way to proceed. I don't know whether any of the other panelists have anything further to add on that.
I think you captured it well. So, and once the way how you indicate, you just follow the link that I provided in the chat, and it's also you find it also on our website. We have the contact form, and in this form you indicate that you would like to participate in the tweak. That's basically the practicality of it.
Yes, you can also contribute in the technical working group. There are different ways. If you have interest, you can also contribute through the technical working group. There are different ways. One of the ways is you can disseminate this informations to your working group in your national society, and then you can also share us the different document, and if you have WAS and CAS or CVA related website in your national society, you can also share us. And then you can, if you involve in cash and wash, you can contact us, and you also can share your experience, your case studies, your report. We welcome you every time, anytime. That also one of the way you can contribute through this technical working group. You can also contact the group technical working group, the further questions related to the topic, was an CV related topic, and then the technical working group try to answers and support you in the future. That is also one of the way we can help each other. And you can also apply for the technical working group as a member. And we already mentioned you, you have to contact the contact persons and you have fill the forms. And there is some like a procedure you have to fulfill that procedure. Also, your national society, also you have to recommend, and then we cannot give the membership more than one person in one national society. That is our mandate. And last but not least, we like to share you the information about coming survey. We are planning to a webinar and survey related to cash and wash, and all the participants who are here now can also join a survey again. And please disseminate the upcoming survey related information to your national society and your colleague as well. And you can also contribute through the website or the contact page, putting the different information or questions. These things you can also do, and you can also share your experience and contribute through the chat box as well. Right now, you can also share. That's all for this slide, and now we want to go the poll.
Yeah, so Amal, before we go on to the poll, there's been a couple of other questions that have come in. So let's deal with those first, and then we'll go on to that final poll. But so the first question then, I think, relates to ERUs. And so this is question I'm going to put to Deborah then, which is, how can we incorporate cash and voucher assistance in WASH ERUs? So let's concentrate on that, WASH ERUs. How can we incorporate cash and voucher assistance? Deborah, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, thanks, David, and thanks, Hamad, for asking this question. It's a very relevant question. Probably, as you know, at the moment IFRC is reviewing the ERU tools, and particularly also British Red Cross has an internal project called Transition Project, and we are reviewing the way that the ERU MSM, the mass sanitation module, operate in the field, and the WASH team, together with the cash team, we are exploring the possibility to see if sanitation facility construction, latrine construction, not in place, but as well distribution of kits can be done during an emergency response use. Cash voucher assistance is ongoing work, and obviously we are in the feasibility, in the exploration stage, but then we would like to share with our colleague, other national society holding the ERU, and as well federation, and do a proposal if it's possible to incorporate use of cash and voucher assistance during the emergency phase, when the ERU are deployed to the field. And obviously we will need as well consider possibly incorporation of other technical figure like a cash, markets, and specialist, and we will keep you updated on that. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, maybe I can also add, maybe Amal, would you mind if I just also add to what Deborah said there? So there is a lot of discussion at the moment about the role of the relief ERU, because traditionally the WASH ERUs would have worked with the relief ERU to deliver in-kind assistance, such as, say, delivery of hygiene kits. And we know that that often doesn't really work that well, because often the relief ERU is working in one area and the WASH ERUs are working in another area. But we know that there is we know that the relief ERUs are becoming much more cash ready, and some particular national societies, such as the American Red Cross Relief ERU, is delivering cash and voucher assistance, often multi-purpose cash assistance, so unconditional cash at scale. So there is some talk about how we can better integrate between the WASH and the relief ERUs, but then there's also, exactly as Deborah said, about perhaps building up the expertise within the WASH teams, or bringing in additional cash and markets expertise within the WASH ERU team. So there's a couple of different discussions going on. And Amar, did you have something you wanted to further add to that?
No, thank you, David and Deborah. Yes,
Great.
Thank you.
Amar, we've got one other question, which is which came in from Chai Yang Hong, who said, can we have a copy of the Cash WASH technical working group, the job tasks, so we can implement in our national society? So I think there, what's being asked for is I don't think it's just the terms of reference for the technical working group. I think what you're asking for is guidance on how to implement cash and WASH, cash for WASH outcomes within your national society. So I wonder if, well, I have a response to this, but I wonder if we could put that perhaps to Alex. I wonder, Alex, in terms of that, how can national society who's interested actually understand how what the sort of task is, and what the request is, and what the steps are in relation to implementing cash for WASH outcomes? I wonder how you would like to respond to that. I mean, I do have a response I could suggest, but maybe
yeah. Well, in the end of our Cash for WASH outcomes document, you will find also a list of links to different resources. One of them being the guidance on market-based programming for WASH from the humanitarian from the WASH cluster. So this document, I think, it gives you pretty good guidance in doing all kinds of market-based programs, including cash and voucher assistance. Not only cash and voucher assistance, but it includes cash and voucher assistance. And then there are some other checklists, for instance, for cash for latrines. You will find in this section. You will find UNHCR guidance for cash-based interventions in refugee settings. That would be basic my answer. So you will find a lot of links in our document. If you have a specific problem where you do not find an answer in those links, feel always free to contact the technical working group with the contact form. And if there is the survey coming up, which will also ask you what kind of additional support you need, if you have very specific guidelines that you think is missing in all of this, then of course it could also be the role of the technical working group to develop something if something is found out missing by a couple of people. That would be my answer, David.
Great. That's really helpful. Thanks, Alex. And I think Deborah has also mentioned in the chat that also as this Cash for WASH technical working group develops, that this is just the first webinar to introduce this topic and this sort of thematic area. And as this develops, so at the moment we're sort of mapping out what people are doing. We're trying to understand a bit more about the different guidance that's already out there and what the gaps are. And then after this, we're going to go on to developing things, if they need to be developed specifically for the Red Cross Red Crescent movement, or what we can take from more global practice and put a Red Cross Red Crescent lens to it. So that's also what we're trying to do in this Cash and WASH technical working group. So I guess I'm saying watch this space. There's a question that's come in from Eco, which is why cash and voucher assistance is so important, and what if cash and voucher assistance is not applied, and what we must do for the solution. Thanks. So the question there is, so let me try and put that into a WASH context. So why is cash and voucher assistance so important for WASH outcomes? I guess the response there would really, it's just one tool in our toolkit. So we often have been doing in-kind assistance, and so that could be giving people hygiene kits, for example. But as an option, like the Lebanese Red Crescent has been doing, it could be we could use e-vouchers for hygiene kits. So really, why is cash and voucher assistance so important? Because in theory, it can promote more choice and just gives us another thing in our toolkit to be able to respond. So in theory, it's about choice and dignity specifically. And then the next question is, what if cash and voucher assistance is not applied? Then what we must do for the solution? Thanks. So if you find, if you find from your response option analysis, from your assessment, that actually cash and voucher assistance is a more preferred modality, but perhaps you're not able to implement it because you don't have a financial service provider in place, or the risks are too high, or you don't have leadership sort of buy-in for using cash and voucher assistance within your national society or within your delegation, then the suggestion is, well, think about it for the next time, get prepared for the next response so that you do have that tool in your toolkit and you are able to use cash and voucher assistance. And perhaps this time you decide to use another modality, which could be in kind, or perhaps you're using things like paper vouchers. So you're doing a more basic and easier implementable sort of level of cash and voucher assistance.
May I just add something, David?
Yeah, Alex, go.
And even if you, for whatever reason, decide not to or not to use CVA, or if you think that's not appropriate, still, as I mentioned, everything that we do has some impact on the market. So just the concept behind CVA is to use market-based thinking and think about the market. And even if you do not use cash, it has just this type of thinking that is underlying the CVA approach will help you make you have a better response that has less unintended negative consequences on the market, and might have better sustainability by not bypassing local traders. So even if you decide not to use CVA as such as an intervention, the concept behind it is still valuable for your other types of WASH interventions, I would think.
Okay. Let's just go through and just see if there's been any other further questions posted either in the Q&A box or in the chat function. So I can't see any further at the moment. Which I've already done in the chat. Okay, so I think at the moment we're clear on all of the questions. We're only a few minutes off ending the presentation, so I think we'll just post that final poll so that people can see. So I'll just get that open. Just give us a second, and again, you'll just have a minute to complete it. So I'm just opening the poll now. Amar, do you want to introduce the poll?
Yes, actually, we have some questions in poll, and then what does CAS means for the house outcomes, and then the CAS and WASH technical working group in sale, and what's next you can contribute. Do you have any better understand? This type of questions you pop up in the screen, and you can fill the form. You take sometimes, and then we can see also the result. And then we have only 26 seconds, and then we will also share the result as well. Yes, result is coming.
that people after this webinar can follow up and see that. Yeah, and we'll also scan the questions and answers, and we'll also try and make sure that there's a Q&A response. So we won't be sending out written responses to the Q&A, but we'll put them onto that Twig onto that Twig website. Okay, so I'm just going to share the poll results.
Yes, we have the poll result just. The questions, number one, what does the CAS mean for the outcome? 35% given the answers, right answers. Can CAS and WAS technical working group in a nutshell? 10%. And what's next? How you can contribute? 6%. No answer, 50%. And then question number two, do you have any better understanding? Yes, 40%. No, 13%. No answer, 46%. Will you like further update? This question's answer is yes, 50%. No, 0%. No answer, 50%. This is the result of poll. Thank you, everybody, giving the time for the poll. Now we are moving to conclusion of this webinar, and thank you for the participation for all valued participants from the different regions. And then we have also recorded this webinar, and that recorded version you can take out from our technical working website directly as well. And then you have still some questions. We have to need the address. You can also follow up, or we can also see the chat box and we will send you the answer directly as well. If anything, you can send by mail, and then our we will send also the preferences survey after this webinar as well. Thanks and the goodbye. Over to you, David.
Great, thanks, Amar. So we're 2 minutes off the end, so we'll close there. Thank you to everybody who joined. We appreciate there's many webinars running at the moment, and so you've given up your time to join this webinar. And yes, we will keep you updated on the next steps. So we'll stop there. I'll stop the recording.
Yes.